Hello and welcome to another lesson. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to shift stuff. And this is a feature that's available on the more recent versions and updates of Sibelius. Now, usually I'm a bit hesitant to put up Sibelius features that only apply to the most recent versions because I know that not everybody has the most recent version of the program. But this feature is just too cool to ignore. I just had to talk about it. And to be honest, when it first came out, I wasn't that impressed until I began using it and realized how useful it can actually be. So simply said, this feature allows you to shift notes from side to side. So for example, if I take this group of notes here in the middle of this passage and then hold down Control and Alt, by using the left and right arrow keys, I can shift these notes backwards and forwards through the passage without disturbing the order of notes around them. So you can see that when I shift them backwards and forwards, the rest of the material in the passage just accommodates for them. It kind of just moves around them. And as I said, when this first came out, I wasn't that impressed. But to be honest, very frequently when you're doing notation work, you just want to swap a couple of notes around or rework, reorder, or reposition a motif. And usually this is a little bit fiddly because you have to copy and paste everything. You have to take everything apart and put it back together again. But with this new feature, especially when you get used to using it, it's quite easy to shift things around, to just change their positions, to reorder musical material within a passage. So it's definitely worth fiddling around with and practicing getting used to it. Particularly because often when doing notation work, you'll accidentally put something in the wrong place or on the wrong bar, and this makes it incredibly easy to correct those sorts of mistakes. I've also found that it can be quite useful when it comes to changing rhythmic values. For example, let's say that I want to take this material here and make it into this material down here. Now, obviously, I don't necessarily need this shift function, but using this shift function makes this process quite nice, quite smooth. So it's a very helpful and neat little way of just nudging things in and out of position. And this feature also works for multiple instruments as well as for additional objects attached to the staff, such as symbols, text, and lines. See, they all get shifted with the notes they're attached to, which is fantastic. Now, when you're working with different rhythms in a passage, things can get a little bit quirky because the smaller rhythmic values can chop up the larger rhythmic values, so you have to be a little bit careful. But if you play around with it a little bit, you should get used to how it works quite quickly. So if you do have one of the more recent versions of Sibelius, I highly advise you check this out and look for places where you can use it, because once you get a feel for it, it can be a very handy little tool.